Congress, we were due to hear this morning from Rene Gonzalez, one of our 5 Cubans who have spent so long in USA jails for opposing terrorism against Cuba. He was also due to speak to MPs in Parliament. Unfortunately, the British government has refused him a visa. France granted him one, Portugal granted him one, but the British government wouldn't let him in to explain why. His conviction imprisonment was unjust because he has a criminal record. The irony is breathtaking. As we reported yesterday, there is an emergency motion on this issue, which we will discuss later today. But in the meantime, in place of the real thing, we have a video message from Rene, which we'll see now.
Dear friend from TUC, this is a message of gratitude from the 5, from our families, from the Cuban people, for all the hard work you've done throughout the years. You've been together with us since the beginning. You've done a great job in trying to create awareness among the United States unions, which has been very important for us, especially in the last journey in Washington. And you've been very effective in creating awareness exactly what it means, something for us. You've taken the case to the heart of the United States government, which is where we need to knock on the doors, and you've been very helpful to us, and for that we are very happy to have you together with us throughout these years. I want to thank you all for the support you gave to the International Commission for Inquiry in last March. It was a very important event which still has some effects on our case, and we are sure that the result of that commission will be very important to the solution of the case of the party. As you know, I would have liked to be there with you personally to express these thoughts, but the UK government didn't give me the visa. But anyways, we want to appreciate all your efforts to secure that visa. We want to express our appreciation for the job that you've done in that regard. And even though we are not together with you there, you know that our hearts are with you. You know that in Cuba, you have a home, you have a house, you have a family. You have 5 families which are together with you in thoughts, in feelings, and you have 5 families who consider themselves as sincere friends of you. Again, I want to tell you that we are very appreciative of what you've done. As you know, there's still much to be done until Gerardo, Antonio, and Ramon are back to Cuba, and we are sure that we can count on you until one day they are there with us, and then we will celebrate together with you, our friends, our comrades, with all the love that you deserve. Thank you very much.
Congress, as I said, there will be a chance to have our say about the decision to deny Rene a visa later this morning. I call emergency motion 3. Rene Gonzalez denied a visa to visit Britain. General Council support the emergency motion, moved by Unite and seconded by NUT. There are no other speakers who are indicated to speak.
Ivan Monkton, Unite, moving the emergency motion on Rene Gonzalez. Congress, we heard earlier the moving testimony of Rene Gonzalez, the first of the Miami 5 to be freed. Rene has told us of the agony of being locked up away from loved ones for years, locked up unjustly. Now the UK government is continuing his unjust treatment by denying Rene an entree visa. Our government has a track record on this. If an issue is politically inconvenient, then let's ensure the person suffering the injustice is barred from speaking. The latest in the Miami 5 story dates back to earlier this year, when the Cuba Solidarity Campaign, partners from solidarity movements in Europe and supportive trade unions organised the International Commission of Inquiry into the case of the five. 3 judges from France, India and South Africa formed a judicial panel to hear the evidence. Witnesses from Cuba and the United States were assembled at the Law Society, but unfortunately one chair remained empty, that of Rene Gonzalez. Despite an emergency application to the High Court, the intervention of parliamentarians in Westminster and Scotland, and support from leading trade unionists, the UK government refused to grant Rene a visa. Nonetheless, the commission was a great success, and a heavyweight report has been produced and is available from the Cuba Solidarity stand outside. But not content with doing this once, the government has done it again. 29 MPs recently invited Rene to speak in the House of Commons. Once again, the Condems have denied him a visa. Another emergency application to the High Court last week went all the way into Friday evening, and this time the judges have cast doubt on the government's case, but too late for Rene to come to London or to join us here in Liverpool. So now, this UK government joins the Colombian government in denying us here a chance to hear an international colleague put their case. The remarkable fact is, though, that last week Rene was at the Avante Festival in Portugal, and next weekend he'll be speaking at a major labour movement festival in Paris. In other words, he's free to travel the European Union at will. He could get as far as Calais, but then he would run into the British state, acting on behalf of its US masters. No entry. Congress, the denial of a visa is an outrage heaped on the injustice of the trial of the Miami Five. Please support the motion.
NUT.
Kevin Courtney for the NUT, President Congress. This is a tale of massive illegality and of a huge miscarriage of justice, both for an entire country and for 5 brave men and their families. The origin of this illegality and injustice is in the United States of America, but it has been compounded by the actions of our government. Congress, the whole world knows of the illegal blockade of Cuba by the USA, a blockade now more than half a century old, which has illegally deprived the Cuban economy of more than $1 trillion, and which illegally stops Cuba buying up to 70% of medicines on the world market. But less people know that during that whole period, there has been terrorist attack after terrorist attack against the island of Cuba, most of those attacks planned in Miami. Nearly 3,500 Cubans have died in those attacks. An airliner blown up in 1976, and many hotels bombed in the 1990s. Congress, during that 1990s spate of bombings, 5 brave Cuban men infiltrated the terrorist networks in Miami in order to bring out the information about those attacks and to prevent them. They passed that information to the FBI. Astonishingly, the FBI, instead of arresting the terrorists, arrested those 5 brave Cuban men, and after a shamefully organized trial, those men were sentenced to extremely long terms in prison. It's a truly massive miscarriage of justice. It reveals a huge inconsistency in the USA's approach to terrorism, and it's led to a tremendous international campaign to release them, the Campaign for the Cuban Five. This campaign has made huge strides, but it hasn't resulted in these brave men being released. Rene Gonzalez was only freed in 2011 at the end of his 13-year sentence. Now Rene is playing a huge role in the campaign to try and get his colleagues, his comrades, released. As we've just heard, he is even now in Paris, allowed by the French government to address people in his country. He wanted to be here to address you, to address MPs, and he's been denied a visa. The government says he's been denied the visa, because there is a rule saying that anyone that's done 4 years in jail can't get one. But that same rule says not if there are exceptional circumstances. So let's look at the exceptional circumstances for Rene. He was fighting terrorism. He was the victim of a stitch-up. He's been invited here by 29 MPs. He's been invited here by the Trades Union Congress, by Unite, Unison, the GMB. Those are exceptional circumstances. It's a disgrace that he's been denied the visa.
Thank you for that contribution, NUT. Unite, I suspect you don't want to write a reply. Thank you so much. I now put emergency motion 3 to a vote. All those in favor, please show. Thank you very much. Anyone against? That is clearly carried unanimously.